If you were president, what would you do? I mean, a million different things. But the first thing I said was I would turn the military in its entirety on its head and turn the military into just the largest, most robust construction force on the planet. And then immediately fucking work on rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, that kind of thing. They would build statues in your honor if you didn't get assassinated in your first term. I mean, I would never get there anyway.
The U.S. military expects to spend $1.7 trillion on this revolutionary stealth warplane, the F-35 Lightning II.
It's funny when people say you'll get assassinated. Brother, I wouldn't make it out the fucking primaries. You want to know why? Not because I'd get assassinated. I'm not in politics, and I get character assassinated by people who are committed to doing opposition research and smearing my name for fun. Like, not for literal political purposes in the way that, like, most people do oppo research. I have people that already are up my asshole every single day. They're in here right now. They know who they are. They're literally in here watching for the fun of it, and they already do it. So there is no world in which this would be a good idea for someone like myself.
2021 marks 15 years since the first flight of this controversial plane, but high costs may sink the plan to build nearly 2,000 more F-35s.
It still has some problems that need to be solved, and fundamentally, the cost of operating the airplane and flying the airplane today is too high.
Every hour the F-35 is in the air runs around $35,000, compared to about $22,000 for an older F-16. So are the advancements of the plane worth the cost? We went to Hill Air Force Base in Utah to find out how this plane ended up as the biggest weapons program in American history. This is Captain Spencer Whitey, callsign Ghost. He flies one of 78 F-35s stationed here.
The F-35 in general is just a game changer. Between the stealth and the fusion and just the sensors, the whole suite, it just makes it so much easier to fly this airplane tactically than any other jet.
There are nearly 500 F-35s in service in the U.S. military.
Okay, he's noticeably not decapitated. Okay, so where is all the criticisms now? Oh, the helmet is too heavy. Oh, when you eject, it cuts your head off. Excuse me, that man still has his head on his shoulders.
And in the last few years, the F-35 has carried out airstrikes against ISIS in Iraq and Syria.
Probably the best compliment you can pay to this airplane is if I wanted to go to war, this is the airplane I want to be in.
So by many measures, the plane is a success.
You know, the F-35 a lot of times has gotten a sort of a bad rap in the media.
There was bad press from the beginning, but even in 2021, criticism followed the revelation that operating this fleet of planes could cost taxpayers $1.7 trillion. That's equivalent to the total amount of student debt in America. Just buying the planes costs $400 billion, but what are called sustainment costs really add up. That includes developing, testing, flying, and maintaining the American fleet of nearly 2,500 F-35s during a 66-year life cycle that ends in 2070. Lockheed Martin sent Insider a statement that says there is clearly work to be done to lower sustainment costs, and we are working tirelessly with our customers to accomplish this. To truly understand the complex price tag, we need to look at how it was born. In 2001, the Department of Defense awarded Lockheed Martin the contract to design and build a new generation of fighter jet. But part of the problem was the same thing that made it seem great in the first place. The F-35 was supposed to fit the needs of the Air Force, Navy, and Marines all in one. So the military actually had to build 3 different models, the F-35A, B, and C.
They're really close cousins, and they look a lot alike. But the Air Force had its own requirements. The Navy needed a tail hook. The Marine Corps variant needed the jump jet. So it was a mistake to sell the F-35 as one single aircraft. It's really 3 aircraft rolled into one.
The Marine Corps wanted to replace Harrier jets, so it needed short takeoff abilities and vertical landings for amphibious carriers. That's what became the F-35B model at a cost of $101 million per plane. The Navy wanted a stealth jet that could take off and land on supercarriers to replace the F-A-18. Enter the $94 million F-35C model. The Air Force was looking to replace the A-10 and the F-16.
I have flown against F-16s in this airplane. You can end up just showing up behind them, and they never knew that you were on your way. You were invisible, you saw them from a long ways out, they never saw you.
Ghost flies the most conventional fighter-bomber version, the F-35A. It's also the least expensive of the three at $78 million.
Oh.
The original plan was for all...
Oh. Bro, they're practically giving those away, dude. What a bargain. How many Pepsis do I need for that one, I think? I think I can win that one.
All of the F-35s, A, B, and C, to be nearly identical. But packing everything into just one kind of plane created all sorts of problems. The first B model was meant to hover, but it was significantly overweight because of all the functionality that designers packed into it.
So basically, Lockheed Martin had to redesign the F-35B. And because all three airplanes were being developed together, it also resulted in some redesign of the A model and the C model. This was a major setback to the program and ended up costing the program a lot of time and an awful lot of money to redesign.
The Navy's C model needed tougher landing gear and bigger wings so it could land on a traditional aircraft carrier. Retired Lieutenant General Chris Bogdan took over the F-35 Joint Program Office in 2012.
The program had run into some significant cost and schedule overruns. It was billions of dollars over budget and years behind schedule.
The original design shared about 75% in common between versions. That was meant to cut costs. But General Bogdan says in the end, the planes...
Good thing they cut... Yeah, that was definitely the best part. Because they really cut those costs, you know what I mean? I love the only hang-up, the only anti-imperialist, technically anti-imperialist action against the behemoth that is the American war machine is just corporate greed and like cost-cutting measures fucking them over. That's fucking hilarious, dude. The true anti-imperialism all along came from capitalism. Lenin could have never fucking imagined this, okay? Oh, imperialism, the higher stage of capitalism. Guess what? Imperialism also, the highest stage of capitalism also creates an anti-imperialist vacuum in the imperial core. That's what's so perfect about the situation is that like capitalism is such a self-defeating monster that it ends up creating idiotic things like this that in its own cycle of trying to reinforce its authority, reassert its authority globally.
Only share about a third of their design. It was part of the mess Bogdan inherited because back in 2006, the DoD decided to enter production before testing showed acceptable performance.
Oh, that's the best part too.
All these new technologies that were not very mature.
Like this is literally what is it made to? What's the term for this in just-in-time manufacturing? Okay, they're kind of doing like the military version of just-in-time manufacturing, which is hilarious because they have to do it. So that they can immediately get the political benefits of it, you know, jobs or whatever. And the company also gets a lot of money up front. What is that is the question you ask. Okay, so notice whenever like a pandemic or some shit happens and people freak out, there's like not enough toilet paper. Okay? The reason for that is because companies no longer, like grocery stores and manufacturers no longer keep stock, like a robust stock of the things that they're selling because they're constantly refilling it. Okay? This makes our supply chain very fragile because it reduces warehouse costs. They've basically made the fucking they've made the math equation that it's just like literally cheaper to just like ship it. That makes our supply chains very delicate, and minor disruptions can cause massive problems. So what they're basically doing with this is a similar thing. They're min-maxing on the other side, on the manufacturing side, where they min-max on the creation of the fighter jet without eliminating all of the problems. And then they go back to the drawing board when there's like genuine catastrophic failures, like not being able to fly when it's fucking rainy, or not being able to fly when it's too cold for your batteries. Okay? So in that situation, we call it truck to shelf. Our store tries to keep zero backstock. So basically in that process, they've already made the fucking bombers, and they have no way of fixing it in a diligent and fast manner when new problems arise.
And we were going to integrate them in one big bang on the airplane and basically hope that it worked. The problem there is if any one of those technologies is not mature or doesn't work, it holds up the entire program.
By 2021, Lockheed Martin had delivered nearly 500 F-35s to the U.S. military, with plans for nearly 2,000 more. Lockheed had delivered more than 200 F-35s to other governments around the world, and orders for 600 more are in the works. The F-35 is being mass-produced, and Lockheed is expected to deliver more than 150 planes in 2022. But the Pentagon has delayed a crucial milestone called full-rate production that would officially mark the end of testing the F-35. A decade and a half after its first flight, the F-35 still has more than 600 known problems, mainly related to computer software and hardware. So maintaining an F-35 turns out to be much more expensive than anyone expected. The lifetime cost estimate for maintenance of the F-35 fleet increased 15% between 2018 and 2021, to a total of more than $400 billion.
Just like you get a new iPhone every couple of years, we're going to get new computers in the jet with more capability, and then new sensors and improvements.
That is what gamers, at least in the chat, know is a DLC. Do you understand? The military industrial complex is now operating on the DLC model. Now, I am no big city lawyer, nor am I a fucking aerospace engineer. But even I know, as dumb as I am, that software issues that pertain to fucking flight are notoriously costly when it comes down to, multiple points of failure that will absolutely end up dropping more fighter jets that cost $100 million than John McCain, the fucking Maverick, ever could have imagined in his wettest of dreams. When it comes to planes, the goal is to have it permanent, okay? Like, the goal is to streamline the process, make a fucking piece of tech that works. Doesn't matter if it's built in 1967. It still flies. It still shoots. It's easy to fucking train. You're covering a lot of the costs on that front, okay? When you add DLCs and software into the process, all of a sudden you have extra costs for training. Yeah, B-52 is the perfect example. Exactly. That's why I laugh whenever people are like shocked to find out that a lot of the planes, a lot of like the commercial planes that you fly in are pretty much the same fucking plane with like new tech in it, obviously, but pretty much the same plane that like people have been flying in since the 60s. Not much has changed in that regard. It's low maintenance, it's low cost, and also it's very reliable. Okay? Smaller seats. Yeah, I mean, that's different. That's a wild statement. Do you think that's a wild statement? That a lot of the planes, what are you talking about? Planes are completely different now? No, the fundamentals of the planes that we fly in still are rarely ever different than the fleets that were made in like the 50s and 60s. in the military space, yeah, B-52 was literally the most expensive military project in its day, just like the F-35, and it gets upgraded. We still use the B-52. It's a 70-year-old aircraft. The reason why I'm talking about the software issues was also because of Boeing, though. The was it 737 Max, right? When you have a expensive piece of tech that you added in the form of software that companies across the board at every step of the way. Hasan, every time you talk about military jets, you trigger me so hard, Lamau. I know. I am not as autistic as the people that know a lot more on this issue than I do. Okay? A lot of what I'm saying is reductive. I get it. You played War Thunder. I mean, I am related to the most autistic man who makes some of this stuff. So obviously that's where a lot of my knowledge is coming from. Okay, unlike browsing the War Thunder forums. The problem is when you put a fucking DLC or when you put a software update, it's incredibly costly. It increases the maintenance costs. It increases the cost of the plane in general for upkeep. And also you have more points of failure, especially because every step of the way, both in the military and also on the manufacturing side, you have people who are trying to cost cut. You get it? I'm a plane nerd, and you're ultimately right if your specific arguments sound weird because you don't know as much specifically.
Improved avionics in the aircraft.
The F-35 is a flying computer, with 8 million lines of code for the airplane itself and another 16 million lines of diagnostic tools that help figure out what's going wrong at any given time.
Absolutely, the biggest advantage for the F-35 is the fact that it's self-diagnosing, right? And if it doesn't tell us exactly what's wrong, it gives us...
The F-35 is going to come with realistic depictions of panic attacks. The day them military, dude.
A general direction to go in, which saves a lot of time on the back end when it comes to maintenance. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it.
And there are benefits inside the cockpit, since pilots get more information than in any other fighter jet. The helmet...
The F-35 is self-diagnosing, and it's constantly telling everybody, please kill me. I am an affront to God. Why have you brought me into this world only to suffer? Every part of my body hurts. Please kill me now. That's why it made that screeching noise, as it was like finally doing his one last hurrah. Okay, was the celebratory screech from the F-35, which had self-diagnosed itself with OCD, autism, chronic depression, and anxiety disorder.
A $400,000 custom-fit model combines the heads-up display of older planes with night vision, as well as a feed from infrared cameras mounted on the body of the plane.
My awareness is projected to me in the visor of this helmet. And it's so expensive because it's binocular. It projects into both of my eyes, so those have to be perfectly aligned so I'm not seeing double.
The stealth design absorbs radar waves and hides the massive heat signature put out by its supersonic engine.
I see everything that's happening out there, and they don't see me because I'm stealth, which then just allows me this position to just sit back and quarterback in kind of a calm environment, as opposed to kind of the chaos that you're having to go through if you're in other jets.
Where older fighters are seen on radar, the F-35s are barely a blip. Of course, the same can't be said for the cost. And without better affordability, the military will likely cut back on purchases.
The original plan, and believe it or not, the current plan, is for the Air Force to buy 1,763 F-35As. No one really believes that. It's just sort of out there.
Since the military buys planes in batches, future production could stop at almost any time.
But most likely that's not the case. Most likely they'll get maybe 11 or 1,200, in which case you have to keep a legacy force of fourth generation fighters that work with you and depend upon you, the F-35, as effectively the force that kicks down the door.
So 2 decades into the program, with less than a third of the anticipated planes built, that $1.7 trillion number is just an educated guess.
Six of those jets are Grand Theft Auto 6. What do you choose? Brother, I would throw those jets in the fucking trash, dude.